Hello and welcome to our update of the to harvest or not to harvest bins. I removed the lid and I did find just a little bit evidence of them crawling. We did have rain come through last night, so I'm actually not surprised. But they weren't on the lid, so at least we know that they stayed in. So this is my not to harvest bin, and these guys are looking great. They really are. The bedding also looks good and moist, even though, like I said, by this time I would have harvested this bin, but since we're doing the experiment, we're leaving it alone. So I'm truly hoping that the fact that we're not harvesting is not going to create an environment for them where they stop reproducing or stop growing. But once the experiment is over, I will definitely harvest this bin. But they're looking good. This is where we fed. And I'm not seeing anything that is left of the food, just the bedding. I made a little boo-boo when I made my bedding, my moist bedding. I kind of left it outside and didn't properly cover it. And I had some, I think it was fungus gnats, make their way in. I didn't realize it, and I fed some of my bins. And I did see within the next couple of days that I had an issue with fungus gnats. But I started covering the bins, and hopefully that will deter them from spreading. But something you want to consider when you're making this moist bedding is to make sure it's properly covered, that nothing gets inside, because it is attractive to fruit flies and fungus gnats, I guess. Okay, so we're going to feed this bin. So we have our food again. Food measured out, dry bedding, moist bedding. Scientific as always. So got that going. Let's do the, we got some pear and grapes. I also have a banana here. Now the banana was not previously frozen. Actually, neither were the pears or the grapes, but they did go bad, really bad. So I thought, oh well, they're so mushy. Let's just let it go and put it in there. I already added the coffee grounds and the eggshell, and now I'm going to put the moist bedding. And here we go, cover it up. So these guys are all fed up. And we can go to the other bin. Let me just cover this up. Oops. Okay, so here's our to harvest bin. Oops. And these guys are also doing great. It's interesting that although I've been adding this moist bedding plus kitchen scraps, the material does not feel wet at all. You can see how easily it just crumbles apart. And I covered my bins, so I guess there's something to this. Of course, if it did start getting super duper wet, I would definitely hold off on the moist bedding and just put in dry bedding. But so far, it's looking good. So this is where we fed. Is a baby worm bowl. Now this, guys, is a tomato. And some people will say that it's too acidic, do not put it into your bins. But actually, if you use proper buffers, you can put this and many other things like citrus and onion and spicy peppers. It's perfectly okay. You can see that the worms are all in it, loving it, and I always use buffer, so it's really not an issue. But it's interesting that these guys are still working on that tomato, whereas the other ones are completely done with it. But they're looking good. Also here, very healthy. Okay, so I'm going to feed the other side now. Let's feed in here. Putting down our dry paper. And our kitchen scraps. Spreading them out. They're probably going to heat up anyway, but you know, spreading them out a little bit helps. And of course, the moist bedding. I'm looking forward to the next harvest because shortly after the next harvest, I am going to count the worms. We're going to see which bin has the most worms, the most cocoons, if we're able to find them. And then we can finish this experiment. I think 2 harvests is more than enough. Okay, and this one is finished as well. Happy Thanksgiving to all, and we'll see you next week.